I'm good. How are you?
Am I allowed to drink wine on this? I didn't ask you ahead of time, by the way. I've already gone
Oh,
from here to
yes, of
here. Okay,
course.
good. So I'm great. I've been running around all day, but this is my first moment of relaxation, and it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you. God, when's the last time? Minus the preparation before this. When's the last time we talked? Like a year ago? More than?
Yeah. We checked in during COVID, I feel like in the beginning, but
I'm gonna
the
give you
last
the
time we
credit for
hung
that.
out
You
was when
checked
you
in with
came.
me. That wasn't me taking lead on that at all. But when's the last time I saw
It's
you?
okay.
Was in Boston, right?
Yeah, and we got booked up. We
I
were we
can
were
neither
drunky drunk.
confirm nor deny that. No,
I
oh my God, I remember too. That was the time when I had a 6 a.m. flight from Boston to LA.
y- yes, yes, it was you had to wake up very early and I think I was just like, "All right, see ya. Nice meeting you. Bye."
So the wild part, right? Just real quick, for anyone, it's what is going on? I was in Boston visiting our mutual friend, and I had a flight from Boston to LA the next morning. At literally, my flight was at 6:20. It wasn't one of those oh, I got to get up early and be at the airport early. And I woke up in a haze at 5:20. And our friend
Yeah.
did not live anywhere near Logan Airport. It was a good 20-minute drive. My flight was already boarding. I already had the boarding notification. And then I called an Uber, somehow made it on the plane, and then I woke up in Los Angeles. That's all that I know. I don't know how I made it, but I did. It was just, yeah, that was a wild night.
And we were not helpful because literally you woke up we didn't help you wake up. We didn't set the alarm. We were just we were dead,
Yeah, well,
not
I also
alive. I'm pretty.
went.
I think we have photos of us asleep in the Uber on the way home from that night.
Oh, I have
I'm pretty
video
sure there's
because
photos somewhere.
I was filming a vlog, and the last
Yes,
video of the night was at 3:25 in Chinatown at a restaurant that you guys insisted on taking
I
me
for
to. And the video is
I
me
forgot
turning to
about
Colton
that.
going, I have a flight in 2.5 hours. Oh my God. But I made the flight.
Oh,
That is something I can't
yeah,
do
it's all
anymore.
that
I was able to
matters.
do that in my mid-20s. I don't know that I would be able to pull that off to this day.
No, oh my goodness. So the reason that you know our mutual friend is because of radio. You guys both worked at iHeartMedia. You've been in radio forever, and then you transitioned to digital with TRL and all that stuff. Can you take us briefly through your journey through radio and the entertainment industry?
Yeah, okay, so the super fast way, I'm so bad at making this a short story. Um, Grew up in entertainment. My family had a DJ company, so that led me to be into music and performing and doing theater and acting and that kind of thing, which led me to studying television and radio broadcasting in college, which led to my internship with iHeart, which led to 8 years at iHeartRadio. And then about halfway through those 8 years, I started doing a lot of video content, and then that led to me getting the chance to be one of the hosts for the reboot of TRL on MTV. And then I continued to work beyond TRL for MTV and Viacom and some of their subsidiaries because they have a couple different networks and digital outlets. And yeah, and then now I work for a lot of different people, and I do a lot of different things. But that's the fastest way, yes. So from DJing to performing to radio to TV to internet.
That's crazy. And you're still so young and you've done so much and
I feel
have
so
such a
old.
roster of
Julie,
employment.
the bags under my eyes
Okay.
are they're bad Chanel knockoffs. Chanel doesn't make bags, do they? I meant to say I don't know, Coach. That
Michael
boom.
Michael Kors or something.
Michael Kors is trash, and I know that I'm probably not going to get the endorsement now, but please. Louis Vuitton. There we go. Great. I'm just trying to stay relevant.
It's been a rough year. You can have the bags under your eyes, and we're gonna let you have that
They
pass.
won't go away. I need those. What are the? You know this probably better than me. You live and work in a content. What the gold things that go under people's eyes, the eye masks things? I don't know. Rejuvenation.
We can we can we can find
Yeah.
eye patches underneath that would work
Yeah.
for you.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Please help me with that.
So How did you transition from radio to then getting the opportunity to host, be one of the hosts for TRL?
Oh, I still don't fully know. Honestly, like the TRL story is a whole different animal. But like essentially it was like an email out of nowhere. But it happened probably because I started doing a lot of video on my own. Like I was working in radio and no one in radio kind of was valuing video. At least to the extent that I realized that it should have been valued, right? They were using like old school flip cameras that honestly, like the footage of like these massive artist interviews look like they were being filmed on toasters. And I'm like, that's not good. Like YouTube's popping off. Casey Neistat's becoming like the #1 channel on YouTube as a vlogger, and like no one's paying attention to this. I'm going to jump on this train if no one else will, right? And I started filming my own interviews. Like I would get an interview with, I don't know, I'll name it random, like Demi Lovato or something. And they'd be like, it's audio only. I'd be like, can I bring a camera and just like put it in the corner on a tripod? They're like, sure, whatever, it's fine. But it's like, you have to do it yourself. And I started doing it myself. And I started putting my own videos up, everything from vlogging to artist interviews to skits, comedy bits. And I'm making myself probably sound like a bigger YouTuber than I was. I was never like full focused, like a couple 100,000 subscribers, anything like that. But, frequent enough and enough content on a weekly basis that I guess when you started searching like music host and like music journalist and TV host or TV reels or that kind of thing, I would pop up. So I can assume, at least my guess is that's how MTV found me, and then they reached out.
But also, you were interviewing these high profile celebrities. So for me, as someone who's a fan of Demi or Selena or whoever you're interviewing, I'm looking up Demi Lovato, like 2019 Demi Lovato interviews, or looking for something specific that she said. And your videos are popping up because as fans, that's the kind of YouTube content they consume, or in these interviews. And you were one of the first to do it with these artists.
Yeah, true.
So now you're kind of starting that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because that you say that. I went back and looked at a lot of my YouTube videos. Like, I had a lot of content. I took a lot of it offline, just like it doesn't need to be on the internet anymore. It's not like I did anything bad or I'm not gonna get canceled or anything like that. But just like stuff that goes, okay, that's not my finest work. I don't like how I presented this, right? Because I was learning in real time. But yeah, I had quite a few interviews with like people who are massive now. Like I was one of Fifth Harmony's first interviews. And like I'm having like a 5-minute wild conversation with Camila Cabello, and everyone's just calling her the young-looking one. Like I don't even know her name, and now she is, massive diamond-level star on her own. Which is crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like with Fifth Harmony, they were so unhinged back then. So like you could literally do whatever you wanted in the interview with them and have probably the best content that you now have.
They were very chaotic to interview. I still love all of them. I've interviewed them I think I've actually interviewed every single one of them as a solo artist since. But yeah, back then it was very chaotic trying to get like all of their attention for sure.
And then COVID hit, obviously, and everyone kind of had to put their life on hold. But I noticed, I follow you on social media, and you created this outlet of video streaming with Twitch and kind of going live and talking to fans. Can you give me a little bit more background of what you were doing on these live streams on social media?
So like COVID hit, and I was like traveling around. I was working on a music show and a bunch of projects actually. And then like I realized I wasn't going to be doing that. I suddenly was in lockdown along with everyone else. And I started going crazy, like, okay, I need to do something. So I was really starting to realize the value of live streaming. Twitch is such a monster in the gaming community, but now it's finally, and I think it was accelerated. Actually, I know it was accelerated by COVID and people being home. But now Twitch is in real time becoming TV networks, right? Like everyone's Twitch channel is essentially a different TV channel. And you could have various types of content live on there. Everything from gaming to music news to live performance to commentary, whatever it may be. And I was like studying in real time because it's not an easy animal to understand. I mean, you think video editing is like hard to jump into, streaming and understanding how to get good quality like picture and audio in real time with low to zero latency, like that's a whole different college course. So I was doing that, going like, I'm still not fully sure what my product was going to be, but just like I needed to get it out there. And while I was like getting ready to launch something, still didn't fully know what yet. 5 Seconds of Summer, randomly enough, had an album that was supposed to be number one. Like it was basically, if you know you were gambling in Vegas, it was like the favorited pick. It had like 99% chance of being the number one album that week. And out of nowhere, Billboard came out and said, nope, it's actually number two. The Weeknd has number one. And just like everything on the internet exploded. Anyone that was even slightly related to like following music news was like, what is happening? Fans are going crazy. People are getting canceled, not just from like a dramatic fan standpoint, but like, yo, this is really not right. Like from an analytical metric standpoint, that this isn't adding up. And I started to realize that, and I started to kind of realize what was happening. And I'm not going to give that whole lecture right now, but I was like, okay, I can explain the music business side of this as someone that's worked in the music business for just shy of a decade, for fans, for people that want to listen. I'll put it in layman's terms, and I'll still not sugarcoat it, but I'll make it a little bit easier to grasp. And I remember I decided to go live like that night. Like, what do I have to lose, right? Let's just jump on this fire while it's hot. And I didn't pre-promote it. I didn't like say, hey, tomorrow at 6 p.m. like retweet this. It was just like from my Twitter account, which I have a verified Twitter account with like 10,000 followers, but nothing big, like not a huge audience by any means. I just tweeted like, I'm going to go live in like 5 minutes and talk about the 5 Seconds of Summer thing. And by the way, if you don't know who I am, like I work in radio, I work in TV, I work in music business. I kind of know what I'm talking about a little bit. And I'm going to try to explain it. Thinking like, okay, maybe I'll get like 50 or 100 people watching on Periscope. And I think it took like 4 minutes before I had close to 9 or 10,000 live viewers. Like clearly people that don't follow me, but they were just like, let's see what this man has to say. And the reason for it is like, one of the fiancés of one of the members of 5 Seconds of Summer like retweeted it, and then one of the Five Sauce guys was like watching, and it blew up. And I think before I knew it, I was like 3 hours into like talking, basically not out my ass, but like
I was gonna say, now you're just making up facts.
Right. I was being careful not to like say anything that would get me in trouble or blacklisted or like, because the music mafia that does run labels and artists and music business and news and entertainment is very real. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's a necessity, honestly, to some extent, for music and for it all to keep turning. But the fans started asking questions that either A, wasn't prepared to answer, or B, I knew the answer to, but I knew if I gave it without like full college level lecture dissertation, it would be misconstrued, and parts of that did happen regardless. But anyway, so like I remember like ending that stream going, I either just made my career for the next like year of lockdown, or I just completely blacklisted myself, and I wasn't sure which option it was going to be. Luckily, it was the former. Yeah. Luckily, it was the former, and that whole series turned into basically me bringing on various friends that work in the music industry, from artists. I'm really good friends with like people like Logan Henderson from Big Time Rush, and Katie Tiz and Sammy Adams, and just Max and different people that were willing to come on and talk about music business from a fairly transparent standpoint, without like sugarcoating it, without just me asking like, what did it take to write this song? Like, how did you promote this? How did you decide to like put money behind this? How did you get the label to give you money for this? Like questions that they've never really gotten the chance to answer, at least in a comfortable way. And then that expanded to like a music news update show, which basically kept me busy from March of last year all the way through October, give or take. Yeah, until I started making like real money again.
How come you stopped?
Yeah. I stopped because I started, honestly, there was a couple of factors at play, but honestly, I started getting busy again, which I'm thankful for. But, for such a long time to run that show, I wasn't doing anything else. I was living off of a savings. I was, fully focused on this show. And then, other stuff started to slowly start moving again. And There's still components of that show that, I can't say too much, but it will be back in one way or another pretty soon. But, deals started to happen. I started to talk to people that could help it become something so much bigger, which hopefully that happens. But that's part of the reason I stopped. And then, honestly, I've never, fully admitted this, but, I've always prided myself of being a workaholic. But that was the first time, and it was probably mixed with, the deep depression that everyone's gone through as, an after effect of COVID and lockdown and all this crazy world that we live in right now in the pandemic. But I really hit a true mental burnout state for pretty much the first time in my life, at least to a point where I was able to look myself in the mirror and say, you need to stop for a second, because you can't keep doing this, not without a reset.
Yeah, no, and I feel like everybody's like that, or kind of appreciated that you could take a moment to chill out and kind of really figure out where you want to go after this. And you got to, open up this whole separate video stream system that you were doing on your own. Like, you didn't have iHeart backing you. You didn't have TRL. It was like, shit, Erik, you did this on your own, and you have this huge platform now that you created with no help from anybody else. So now it's like, okay, what can I do from that? Where can you go from that? So what are you working on next? What can we expect to see from you?
This is why I was half hesitant to do this with you today, because you're someone that works in the industry that I trust a lot, and I want to tell you so many things.
Oh, then just say no. Don't say. Follow me on social media.
I can't talk about things that literally happened 2 days ago. That I'm already saying too much by admitting that they're happening. But
okay, then we'll tell everyone, follow you on social media to see the updates, and I'll post once I see that on our social media.
Yeah, if everything,
when we find out what you're doing.
Hypothetically, if everything continues to go well, then I'll have a lot more to share in the coming weeks, which will be cool.
And you'll be in the state that I'm currently in, correct?
I can confirm or deny anything. Where am I? Where is here? Isn't here just there without a T? What is life? Is this a matrix? Who knows?
That's awesome. But also, and you're a huge fan of music, and, you are kind of I feel like the definition of a 90s boy with the music, the boy bands. You loved NSYNC, and then for some reason I just know that you love Panic at the Disco as well. Do you think that any of, the reason that you got into this industry was also because of the influence of music and the artists that you listened to growing up?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I got in the industry fully because I do love music at such a microscopic, deep level, and I know that I'm not a good enough musician to do it professionally. I love to play the drums, and I've been surrounded. My dad's an amazing singer, and I'll never admit that to his face because him and I fight like no other. But he is a truly phenomenal singer, and my mom's an amazing dancer, and my grandmother was the first female collegiate level keyboard instructor. I'm surrounded by these people that it's almost nauseating how good at music they are, and I knew my benefit to music, or at least music business, was my personality. And that's where I kind of, I was pretty much high school, and I went, okay, that's great, but how can I make money doing that, right? How can I do that and not quit 5 years in? Which is what led me to radio, to TV, to music TV, to music video creation. But yeah, it all started with just a really deep love for, I have these CDs. I've never admitted this, and I didn't even know if I was going to bring it up. But my dad owned a DJ company, and because of that, had a way to burn CDs when no one could, right? I'm talking way before your first Dell computer in 2005, where you had your CD-ROM. This is 1996, 1995. I'm a 4-year-old, 5-year-old running around my dad's office with access to basically music presses, and I would make my own Erik Zachary mixtapes at 6 years old.
That's
and I had
awesome.
A series of 6, 7, 8 volumes of now that's what I call music, except Erik Zachary calls this music. And Julie, they're so cringe-worthy, eclectic, but also solid bangers on these tracks. Like everything from like Tearing Up My Heart NSYNC to like Chubbawamba Tub Thumping to Bewitched C'est La Vie, like songs that you hear in a 90s themed bar and going, I forgot about this, except like that's what I lived and breathed and honestly still kind of do.
Yeah, that's the music that I'd probably, if you gave me a CD, I'd be like, okay, this is what I'm going to be listening to. So I think that's called taste. But that's
Taste
awesome. That's
facts,
like so
fam.
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You still have those. That's crazy.
Somewhere, yeah, I gotta track them down. 'Cause, I mean, it's pretty wild. Like some of the songs. What's wild is like OMC, How Bizarre is on, I think, Erik Zachary CD 2, and a song that was, for all intents and purposes, left in the past until what 9 months ago when like someone threw it on TikTok and then it became a trend of like how bizarre, da 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 da. But like I was listening to the song before it was in the Parent Trap, before like anyone knew what it was, just because my dad had access to it because he was DJing weddings and bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs back in the day. Just crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you've just always been super influenced by music in one way or another, whether it was your parents play, being get talented and given, or just the work that they did. So that's pretty,
Right.
that's awesome. I just, because I'm a fangirl and I love music, the same thing. I wish I had an ounce of like musical talent in me. I have zero. None.
I've seen you dance in a club, so I can verify that. But like that's with like the most love
No, you
possible.
haven't.
In Boston, we
No,
went
you
to that
haven't.
club. I said Boston
Probably,
the most
honestly, but
Boston way
again,
possible, and I'm not from
Bo-
Massachusetts, which
in
is so wild.
Boston,
Boston. Man, where you from? You from Medford? Where you from? See, I know things.
that was where we were.
I know. I learned.
So,
I was on the
is there
radio in
any-
Boston. And I knew nothing about it, but I learned my little facts.
You were 1017, the bull, horns up. That was you.
I
I'd
haven't
turn
done this
on
in
on a Sunday and I'm
forever.
like,
Yeah. Anyway.
So, is there any advice that you would give to anyone trying to pursue getting into whether it's radio, digital media, or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. People are finally, and by people I mean like general audiences, right? Like the people that make successes out of people like me or you, people that uphold podcasts or video content or whatever it may be, are really starting to appreciate authenticity. And not that that wasn't always the case, but just with long form interviews with people willing to like settle in and listen to a podcast. And I hate that I just phrased it that way, but I mean, that's what it is, right? Whether you're driving or you're watching something on YouTube or you're going down a rabbit hole, people like A, connecting with someone over a mutual love or passion, but B, they like knowing that whoever they're watching isn't like blowing BS, up into their face. I think that was like my biggest annoyance, that I really started the clock in radio. And don't get me wrong, I did this too. And I recalculated, I recalibrated. But I'll be the first one to admit, like, when I was still learning how to interview people, I would just do the Jimmy Fallon thing, which is like laugh at everything they say, tell them how good they are. And don't get me wrong, like, Jimmy Fallon's an excellent interviewer in that capacity, but that wasn't for me. It wasn't my taste to like, just basically sugarcoat something for 6 minutes. I did it and then I recalibrated. But anyway, I think if you want to get involved in anything to do with music or music business, A, learn your facts, and not just from like, Brendan Urie was born on June 2nd, 1987. Like, that's probably not even, I know that's not true. And like, someone's going to probably jump on this going like, no, he was actually born in April. But not even from like that analytical sense. I'm like saying, learn why radio works the way it does, why music labels exist, why they're still very necessary. And in a world of people being independent artists and doing their own thing on TikTok and finding a lot of success, why do we still need music records and labels and that kind of thing? But like, know the back end of it, and then move forward, by being yourself, because you don't have to try too hard to be unique. You already are unique, right? So it's just by putting whatever you're talking about in your own words, you're already doing something different. And that's a really good recipe for success. I'm not going to say it's going to work because, it hasn't even fully worked for me. But it's at least a really good start. Does that make sense? Is that long-winded? That's probably
Definitely.
terrible
Yeah,
advice. Okay.
no, definitely. And how do you see, I mean, you're not in radio anymore, but how do you see it changing after everything that happened with COVID?
Um, it depends what radio station you're talking about or what company you're talking about. But so, okay, a real quick, like 30-second deep dive lesson. Like, there is such a heavy relationship between record labels and radio stations. And it's been that way since the existence of broadcast music, since the early 40s, late 30s. For the first time, truly, like we've seen slivers of independent artists. Macklemore was one of the first to do it, to have like massive success without ever signing with anyone other than like radio promotion companies. But now, like, it's happening every day. For the first time, we're seeing that whole system get shook to its core. So I think now, finally, in a post-COVID, hopefully post-COVID world, we're far from out of the woods yet, but at least we're starting to feel like there's a breath of fresh air coming. I'd like to think that many, not all, many radio stations and radio companies and media companies in general, this goes for television too, are starting to be a little more open to like, okay, maybe we don't always have to follow the same playbook. Like, maybe we don't have to air a single just because a record label told us to. And a record label is maybe finally realizing that they, or whoever they deem their A&R person to be, might not always have the best taste in picking a single for an artist. Maybe we should let the artist pick the song. Maybe we should let the person that is making this music and actually has a connection to their fan base be the ones that decide what should get a little bit of extra advertising behind it. That's essentially what radio promotion is. It's advertising. It's a little more complicated than that. It's not face value, but that's essentially what's happening. People get signed with record labels to have extra money to make records, to go on tour, to make music videos, and those things are all done to put things on the radio, and things are put on the radio so that fan bases grow. It's a circle of life. And I think it's pretty cool to see how many songs are currently on the air, how many songs are currently featured in commercials and ads across broadcast television and the internet, that started with a crazy TikToker in their bedroom, probably at a peak of a depression in a really dark place in their life, and they were at the end of their rope, and they literally went, okay, I'll just try this and put it on the internet and see what happens. And then they're on the radio. And I love that kind of story. That's the coolest thing in the world to me, because that's the most organic way for it to happen,
Definitely. And I think also now with TikTok, it's changing the game for music.
Oh, yeah.
And you really don't even need, if a song's not on a radio, it can still be a hit because of TikTok. Or like you said, these old songs are now charting
Yeah.
and coming back on the charts because a TikTok viral trend happened.
Well, like, how
So I
many
feel
people that
like
didn't know who like Fleetwood Mac was, started to get a realization of
sudden,
like this song because of a man with cranberry juice on a skateboard. Like that, I love those kind of stories. That's crazy to me. Not Panic at the Disco, excuse me. All Time Low, Dear Maria. I was talking about this with Brian Logan Dales, formerly of the Somerset. And it's not a name drop. He was on my show. That's why I presented him that way.
I literally was just.
It's not like I was like, by the way, over my whiskey last night, I was talking to Brian. No, he was on my show that I was interviewing for a couple of weeks ago. But we were talking about how like it's the coolest thing in the world that simultaneous to All Time Low having their first true #1 single on the radio with Monsters, with Blackberry and Demi Lovato, they also are recharting with the legacy track that they've had to close their shows with for the last 10 to 15 years. That's so insane to me because of TikTok, because of some guy that works for Domino's that goes, Mom, it was never a phase, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's so funny. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm excited to see in the next few months when things open back up and kind of how these companies now like adjust in the real world with
Yeah.
non-COVID, compliances and, things bringing people back into the office and now realizing these artists don't really need XYZ because now they can do it by themselves or they just need a TikToker with 7, 8 million followers to help them out
Hey,
in some way or form.
or they honestly just need a little faith from these companies, right? I'm not so naive to be like, oh, radio's dead. And anyone that says it either is saying it to be cool or B, doesn't understand the true value of radio, of TV, of these massive old media companies. They still are the most powerful juggernauts in music, period.
Agreed.
But that's not to say that they can't learn and adapt to the times too. So I think it's just a world where, look, like from a social commentary point of view, right? We're all learning to be better. We're all learning to leave old tropes, to leave old stereotypes, to leave racism and misogynistic behavior and whatnot behind. But that also goes for business practices too, right? Like it's okay to re-educate yourself and learn and be better from a business standpoint as well, because it's just helping everyone.
Yeah, no, I agree 110%. Well, I thank you so much for coming on
I
and
feel like we
telling
didn't
some really neat
fangirl
about
enough
weird.
though. Like this is like the whole point,
No,
right? Like
well, it's to educate. You were a fanboy like growing up, and like you were a fan of this music and
I
XYZ,
just
but
wanted to talk
and
about
how
NSYNC,
you
man. That's
what
damn.
you know let's all right, let's talk. We can. I mean, or I'm just gonna have you come on when you get your new job and you tell us all, and then that
All
can just
right.
be the next episode.
Okay,
But
let me
no, it's just
flip
to
it on
educate
you.
people on the industry a little bit more. Okay,
Let me flip it
simple.
on you because I'm so bad at being interviewed, and I feel like I've done very well for however long we're first couple tens of minutes.
I'm not good at interviewing people, so we
So this
switched
is
we
perfect. I
switched
just naturally take
positions.
over conversations, and I try to be better at it. But like, I have to hit you with a couple rapid fire questions, right? This is what I do for a living. What's like the first CD that like not you bought, but the first CD that was constantly on replay for you? That like they or this person was like your end all be all.
Second grade was Aaron Carter. Like he was like posters on my wall. Like my like 'cause I was like a couple years younger than like the Backstreet Boys in sync
Yeah.
like era, and so I was like the Aaron Carter, and then after that it's the Jonas Brothers.
So so I sang "I Want Candy" for the Aaron Carter version for my third grade talent show. Also,
Shut up!
I
I need video.
Oh, there is, which we'll only watch intoxicated when no cameras are around. But also,
Okay.
I got to host a '90s themed concert right before everything shut down with COVID. And
I know
Aaron
it
Carter,
was it with Aaron Carter, Lance Bass hosted. Was it that one?
yeah.
Like
So
98 degrees.
yep, exactly. So I got to host that for both Chicago and New York. And Aaron Carter had like a new version of "I Want Candy," and that was just like very crazy for me. But Lance was cool too, because like my thing is like NSYNC, right? That was my first concert. That was my first dance routine that I learned. Still know, like embarrassed. Have you seen my friends and I do our NSYNC like dirty pop routine?
No,
Oh,
but now I
it's
need to.
so I sang pop in fourth grade talent show. Let me formally apologize to anyone that I went to grade school with. Like I just subjected them every year to various like attempts of trying to be a pop star. My dad and mom, God bless them, bought me like a $500 headset microphone that I used solely to
What?
be a pop star, right? That sounds super irresponsible of them, and like I was a like rich kid growing up. No, they owned a DJ company, so they had a purpose for it. But like literally, I wore like sequin bandanas. I had this headset, so I learned the song and I learned the rough choreography. And then in college, my two very very best friends and I learned the choreography properly because we thought it was going to get us chicks in college, and it
That's exactly
did
what it did,
not
right?
work. No, it did not work even a little. Like every girl I've ever dated since has seen this because anytime that like there's live music of any kind or like a DJ and my buddies and I are together, we will bust this out. Like as recently as a couple weeks ago, right? At like a house party or a friend's like gathering. And it's very embarrassing and it works better now. But like any girl I've dated since is like she hates it. She hates that we do this. But it's at my core the fanboy that still comes like to light. Did I tell you like my manager is Joey Fatone's sister-in-law now?
What? No?
Yeah. And that's not why I hired her at all. Whitney Fatone. Shout out to Whitney. She's incredible. She is like literally, her and I click on such a deep like level. She's an incredible entertainment manager, and she's my day to day. But she also happens to be married to Joey's brother. So she was around and has known Joey.
Just so happens. Just so
Well,
happens.
and not just like, I'm not just saying that like to name drop. Like she's known Joey and her husband Steve since before NSYNC was a thing. Like, so she was there for the entire ride, right? So like she's seen all of like the tours, all of the concerts, and everything. And it's just very wild for me to be working with her on a daily basis. And she is probably single-handedly the most embarrassed by my knowledge of NSYNC out of anyone in my life, which is so funny to me.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay, I got my NSYNC fangirl out, and I'm a huge Panic at the Disco fan. But as you said,
I love that. Anything else that you want to get off your chest?
No, that's about it. I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, again, I thank you for coming on, and I love following what you do and all your videos, and that's how you, even though you don't call me and I have to call you.
Okay, that's nothing personal. I'm very bad at it in general. That's nothing to do with you specifically. Yes.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So I'm excited to see where your journey is, and everyone go check you out on social media if you want to drop your handles.
Just Erik Z, Erik Z on Instagram, Twitter. I think it's Erik Zachary on TikTok, which like I'm so bad at TikTok. I have like a decent following
really
there.
Good at it.
Because I'll throw stuff up there and I forget to do it. I got to do it more often. I need to like come to LA and come visit the content house that you're at and just like make TikToks for like a week straight. And then you can make me a star.
Sold. Let's do it.
I'm trying to do the TikTok dances. I don't.
I'll now be your day-to-day manager when you do that then.
I cannot fire Whitney, but I can let you be my TikTok manager.
Perfect. Love that.
Done. Perfect.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of the Fangirl Fantasy Podcast, and I will see you all next week.